Hi everyone, and welcome to part 2 of measuring mass with units today. So we're just looking at the types of things that you could use to see how heavy that brick was. So now we're going to have a go. We're going to see what units of measurement would be good choices to measure how heavy this bar of soap is on their scales. Now remember, to work out how heavy it is, we want our scales to balance. We want them to be the same on both sides. So I've got a list of things here. We're going to have a look through them and decide whether, yes, they're a good idea to use to measure how heavy the soap is, no, they're not, or maybe they are if we choose the right ones. So let's start at the top. Would bricks be a good choice to measure how heavy the soap is? The answer is no. And the reason the answer is no is because a single brick is heavier than a bar of soap. So when we're measuring an object, remember it has to be lighter than the object that we are measuring. So a brick would be no good. What about some books? I'm going to put books under maybe. And the reason is, if you had a whole pile of the little treehouse books that you get from the supermarket at the moment, if you had a whole pile of them and you used them to measure how heavy the bar of soap was, that would be okay. But if you had books that were all different sizes and all different weights, that would not be appropriate, because when you're choosing a unit of measurement, they all have to be the same. So maybe you could use some books to weigh how heavy the bar of soap is. Could you use pasta shells? Yes, you could, because pasta shells are all the same shape and size. So as long as you had the same type, you could measure how heavy the bar of soap is. What about dominoes? Could you use dominoes to measure how heavy the soap is? Yes, you could. Again, they are all the same weight and size. Could you use bowls? Yes, you could, but only if all of your bowls are the same. They have to weigh the same and be the same size and shape. For example, maybe you could use plastic picnic bowls and you'd be able to work out how heavy the bar of soap is. But if you used a ceramic bowl, it might be heavier than your bar of soap. So then that would not be a good choice to use as a unit of measurement. Could you use basketballs? No, not a good choice, I don't think, because it will probably, one basketball would probably be heavier than a bar of soap. What about small pebbles or small rocks? Possibly, if your rocks or pebbles were small enough, yes, you could, but I'm going to pop it in maybe, because if your rocks are too big, it would be heavier than the bar of soap. So it would depend on the types of rocks or pebbles that you used, and remembering they would all have to be about the same shape, size, and weight. Could you use apples? Yes, you could use apples, but again, you'd have to make sure that they were all about the same size. Could you use teaspoons? Yes, you could use teaspoons, but they would have to be the same type of teaspoon. You couldn't use lots of different shaped and weighted teaspoons. Could you use buttons? You could. You would need a lot of buttons to see how heavy a bar of soap is, so I'm not sure that'd be a great choice, but you certainly could use them. Could you use textures? Yes, you could use textures to see how heavy the bar of soap is. And could you use tennis balls? Yes, that would be another good choice for measuring how heavy a bar of soap is. So, as you can see from this exercise, some things are better to use than other things. With some of our yes objects, even from some of the things from the pictures we see here would be better units of measurement than others. For example, I'm not sure buttons would be a very good idea, because we would need many buttons to see how heavy a bar of soap was. Probably too many to count. Whereas if you had tennis balls, you wouldn't need as many. Or maybe teaspoons, you wouldn't need as many. Or dominoes. So you'd be much more able to count how many units heavy that bar of soap is. So this week, have fun exploring using your units of measurement and finding what unit of measurement would be appropriate or not. Don't forget that you can always message Mrs. Vaderman or myself if you've got any questions. Have fun exploring maths this week. See you next time. Bye.